The winter of 2009-2010 in Europe was unusually cold. Globally, unusual weather patterns brought cold, moist air from the north. Weather systems were undergoing cyclogenesis from North American storms moving across the Atlantic Ocean to the west, and saw many parts of Europe experiencing heavy snowfall and record low temperatures. This led to a number of deaths, widespread transport disruption, power failures and postponed sporting events. Cause: the cold weather was caused by high pressure over Greenland and Iceland forcing weather patterns southward, a phenomenon described by meteorologists as the Arctic Oscillation and also the North Atlantic Oscillation, which were negative compared to normal. The North Atlantic Oscillation in winter 2009-10 was lower than during any winter in over a century, and this resulted in more easterly winds, bringing cold air into northern Europe from Siberia and the Arctic. Scientists have shown that El Niño, the quasi-biennial oscillation and solar variability all conspired to drive this extreme winter. December 2009, 16 to 21 December. Light snowfall occurred in the UK on the 16th of December and weather warnings were given on most local TV stations. The worsened traffic jams towards the south. The snow later spread towards France and northern Spain. In mainland Europe, early snowfall was seen across much of the western half of the continent. On the 17th of December, the Swiss canton of Grisons saw a record low overnight temperature of -32°C. This snowfall led to the shutdown of Utrecht Centraal, while snowfall on highways led to the busiest morning rush hour of 2009, with a total of 671 kilometers in traffic jams. The following day, heavy overnight snowfall caused widespread disruption across large parts of the southeast, East Anglia, the East Midlands and Yorkshire and the Humber in Britain. This snow was in the north half of a depression with east winds centered south of England. Several deaths attributed to the cold weather were reported. During the night of 18-19 December, 5 Eurostar trains were stuck in the Channel Tunnel, trapping more than 2,000 people for up to 16 hours after the vehicles suffered electrical failures because of freezing overnight temperatures. Passengers were without heating, lighting and air conditioning for several hours while food and water ran out. Some passengers were evacuated via service tunnels to car trains, while others were kept on the trains until the trains could be towed out. Eurostar added special services on the evening of the 19th of December to transport vulnerable passengers between London, Paris and Brussels. However, a service from Paris became the sixth train to break down after becoming stuck near Ebbsfleet, Kent. The cause of the breakdowns was unclear. Eurostar initially blamed the sudden contrast between freezing temperatures above ground and the 25°C heat of the tunnel, which affected the high-speed engines. On the 20th of December in the Netherlands, the Royal Dutch Meteorological Institute issued an official weather alarm for the entire country following heavy snowfall in the west, which eventually spread to the entire country. In most cities, bus services were halted and tram service was halted in all 4 major cities. In northern Italy, several locations recorded the lowest temperatures since 1985, with one low reaching -17°C. Police in Poland reported that 15 people froze to death in the country as overnight temperatures fell as low as -20°C and 47 people died indirectly as a result of the cold during the month of December. public appeals were made to the Polish community to report any homeless or drunk people lying outdoors, in an attempt to reduce the number of deaths from exposure to the cold. In Kosovo, 1 person died and 10 people were injured in traffic accidents because of poor weather conditions. Kosovo police spokesperson Arbabika said that 1 person died in an accident which occurred near Thakovica. There were injuries reported in 16 traffic accidents, and a total of 74 accidents causing property damage. The local police called on residents to be careful on the roads because of the heavy snowfall and very difficult driving conditions. On the 21st of December, the M25 motorway and large parts of the M3, M4, M40, M1 and M11 motorways in the United Kingdom were brought to a standstill until late at night and many towns were gridlocked. About 100 people were able to travel from London Victoria Station to Ashford International Railway Station on a steam train hauled by the locomotive. Tornado. Widespread transport disruption affected parts of England, Wales, Scotland and Ireland. In Bosnia and Herzegovina, 3 people were found dead from hypothermia in Sarajevo and Teslik. 22 to 26 December. Fresh overnight snowfall brought renewed problems to parts of the United Kingdom. Particularly badly hit were North Hampshire and the Thames Valley in England. In Basingstoke, some 3,000 motorists were forced to either abandon the vehicles or sleep in them overnight after becoming stuck in gridlocked traffic. Approximately 2,000 cars were abandoned. The Vehicle Recovery Service (AA) accused some local authorities of not acting quickly enough to grit the roads, claiming some key roads had not been gritted at all. The local government association dismissed the claims as unverified, unsubstantiated and unjustified. A man found unconscious in his back garden on the Isle of Lewis in the Outer Hebrides after a night out over the weekend died. A homeless charity in France reported that 12 people died during December as a result of the severe cold. On the 23rd of December, overnight temperatures in the UK once again dropped well below freezing. Dalwhinnie in the Central Highlands of Scotland recorded a low of -16 degrees Celsius and Edinburgh recorded -10 degrees Celsius, causing Scottish Transport Minister Stuart Stevenson to state that conditions on Scottish roads were at the worst in 20 years. Air travel was disrupted in the United Kingdom, with Southampton Airport cancelling all inbound and outbound flights until midday due to a frozen runway. Train services were cancelled for most of the day from Southampton Airport Parkway. A Ryanair flight landing at Prestwick Airport overshot the runway. No injuries were reported and the airport was soon reopened. 2 women were killed and more than 40 people injured following a coach crash on an ungritted country road in Cornwall, as a party returned from a trip to see Christmas lights in Mousehole the previous evening. Weather forecasters warned of icy conditions and further snowfall into Christmas Eve, particularly affecting northern England and the East Midlands. In western Serbia, rapidly melting snow caused the Jadar River in Loznica to flood and resulted in farmland being submerged. Danijela Despotovic, of the Hydrometeorological Service of Serbia in Loznica, said that the temperature was -19 degrees Celsius in the town. Heavy snowfall began in St. Petersburg, Russia. By the 26th of December the city was under 35 centimeters of snow, creating the largest December snowfall recorded in the city since 1881. On Christmas Day, parts of Britain had a white Christmas for the first time since 2004 after snow fell in northern and central Scotland and parts of England. A man in Leeds, West Yorkshire, froze to death after spending 24 hours in his car. A total of 21 people were reported to have died during the cold spell in the UK. The Netherlands had its first white Christmas since 1981. On the 26th of December, drivers in Northern Ireland were warned of icy conditions. Conditions in many other parts of the UK continued to improve as milder air moved in from the south. However, northern England and Scotland remained cold and nighttime temperatures continued to drop below freezing. Some Boxing Day sporting fixtures were cancelled because of continuing icy conditions in certain areas, including the National Hunt meeting at Towcester and all but two of the Scottish Football League's matches. Some parts of East Anglia suffered electricity cuts, including Dedham, Stratford, St Mary and parts of Colchester. In more remote parts of the region, some were without power for 36 hours. 27 to 31 December, parts of England again suffered power cuts. On 26-27 December, Scotland experienced fresh snowfall overnight, Perthshire being the most affected area, where between 12 and 18 inches fell. Temperatures fell to -16 degrees Celsius in Tyndrum overnight on 27-28 December, and to -14 degrees Celsius at Tulloch Bridge in the Highlands. The Met Office issued fresh severe weather warnings and motorists were advised to drive with caution. The A75 between Stranraer and Newton Stewart was closed due to icy conditions, while the southbound carriageway of the A9 was blocked between the A824 and B8081 in Perth and Kinross following an accident at Gleneagles. Temperatures dropped to -18 degrees Celsius in parts of the Highlands overnight on 28-29 December, with Braemar recording Britain's lowest temperature of the winter. Fresh travel warnings were issued on the 29th of December, as wintry conditions continued to cause problems on Scotland's roads. The runway of Inverness Airport was briefly closed because of snow and ice, and First ScotRail reduced its service to and from Glasgow Central because of the severe conditions. However, the snow and icy conditions were good for the Scottish ski industry, which said the weather helped it to experience its best start to the season for several years. Warnings of heavy snow were issued for Wales, the Midlands, Yorkshire and Humber, northwest England, eastern and southern England. More snow began falling across parts of Wales, central and northern England on the evening of the 29th of December, with Wales recording the heaviest of the snow showers, some rural areas recording up to 30 centimetres. Snow was also reported in parts of the West Midlands region and Yorkshire. On the 30th of December, Sports Scotland Avalanche Information Service issued warnings about conditions on Scottish mountains. However, 3 people died in 3 large avalanches. 2 climbers were killed as a result of a snowslide on Ben Nevis, while a man was airlifted from Lythach after getting into trouble, but died in hospital. Continued icy weather in Scotland on New Year's Eve led to the cancellation of Hogmanay celebrations in Inverness. Amid concerns over public safety, New Year celebrations in other parts of Scotland went ahead as planned. Northeast Scotland experienced fresh snowfall during the afternoon and evening of the 31st of December. For a second time that week, Inverness Airport was closed, forcing several hundred passengers to make alternative arrangements. In Batley, West Yorkshire, 2,500 gallons of water leaked into the local gas network. 400 homes in Dewsbury and Batley were without gas during sub-zero temperatures. The final homes were reconnected on the 7th of January. There was also heavy snowfall in Dublin Ireland, leading to the closure of Dublin Airport for several hours, disrupting flights. In Dublin, the snow began 10 minutes before the New Year's Eve countdown. January 2010. 1 to 5 January. Fresh overnight snowfall on New Year's Eve and New Year's Day caused disruption in northeast England, Cumbria and the Scottish borders. In some places it was as deep as 10 centimeters, and motorists were warned not to travel unless absolutely necessary. On the 2nd of January, the synoptic position settled with the jet stream in a route causing a blocking high in the eastern Atlantic. This diverted warm west winds to the south over the Mediterranean and subjected Western Europe to cold north winds. Warm weather around the Caspian Sea and unusually cold weather in China. A weather front brought heavy snow to northwest England. In Britain many roads were closed, including part of the M9. On the 3rd of January parts of northeast England and Cumbria had 6 centimeters of snow, and Edinburgh had 9 centimeters. Europe's largest private sector weather business, Meteor Group, announced that the previous month was the coldest December since 1996. Temperatures remained very cold throughout Ireland and Britain. However, Inverness Airport reopened after several days. It was announced that due to the cold snap, it would be illegal to shoot certain game birds. An all-time snow record in the Estonian capital, Tallinn, was measured at 62 centimeters. The next day in Scotland, Fife Council became the first local council to confirm that its supplies of grit were exhausted after it received less than it had ordered from suppliers. Ministers denied there was a shortage of grit and salt, insisting there were very substantial supplies for Scotland's roads. In its monthly summary, Met Éireann, Ireland's weather service, said December was the coldest month for 28 years for most of the country and the coldest of any month since February 1986 at several stations. Wintry conditions returned to Europe, as much of the northern hemisphere was gripped by intensely cold weather. 13 people died in Poland, bringing the total number of cold-related deaths in Poland to 122. In Switzerland, 10 skiers were reported dead or missing in avalanches. The worst incident occurred in the Demag Valley. Avalanches hit a group of skiers and the rescuers, killing 4 people. 8 people were rescued, although 3 remained missing. On the 5th of January, the Met Office issued weather warnings for every region in the UK except the Northern Isles. An extreme weather warning was issued in the southern areas for overnight snowfall, which could bring accumulations from 25 to 40 centimeters. BBC Weather and the Met Office also warned that temperatures in the Highlands of Scotland could drop to -20 degrees Celsius later in the week. The Met Office also confirmed that the UK is experiencing the longest prolonged cold spell since 1981. 48 centimeters of snow fell in Aviemore, Scotland, and 3 to 4 feet of snow was recorded within the Cairngorms National Park. Most of Scotland had further snowfall during the night of 4 to 5 January. 6 to 9 January, the synoptic situation in northern Europe settled into a steady northeast wind, which brought snow showers and belts of snow. The British Army had to help stranded motorists in southern areas. The Met Office confirmed that 40 centimeters of snow fell in some parts of southern England. A severe warning issued by the Met Office was in place for every region in the UK. Scottish First Minister Alex Salmond said Scotland was experiencing its worst winter since 1963. Further deaths in Wales, Shetland and Aberdeenshire were recorded. Hawick and most of the southern Scottish borders was cut off from the rest of the country for 2 days, and roads in the southeast of England were left with traffic jams and abandoned cars. 8,000 schools were closed. The lowest registered temperature on the 7th of January in Sweden was -40.8 degrees Celsius in Hemavan. In the Netherlands and Belgium, road salt used to keep the roads clear of snow and ice was running out. National and secondary schools in Ireland were supposed to open after the Christmas break on this day. However, many were forced to close because of weather conditions. On the 8th of January, the Minister for Education announced that all schools were to remain closed until at least Thursday the 14th of January. On the Lewis Green Line there were difficulties getting up slopes, such as those between Harcourt and Charlemont and between Beechwood and Cowper. This had caused some delays for Dublin pedestrians. Major reservoirs in County Cork, County Dublin and County Limerick were critically low in areas such as County Laois and the rural areas of County Cork. Bottled water was supplied by the Irish Army. This had also been done for the people affected by floods in October and November 2009. The National Grid issued its second alert in 3 days, asking suppliers to provide more gas and some businesses to switch to other power sources, as gas usage hit record levels. BBC News reported heavy snowfall as far south as Granada, Spain on the 8th of January. A new record of -9 degrees Celsius was also recorded in Dublin, Ireland. Temperatures in County Limerick dropped to -11.1 degrees Celsius. In Kuusamo, Finland, the lowest registered temperature was -37.1 degrees Celsius. In Norway, the temperature dropped to -42.4 degrees Celsius at Tynset. In Germany, more than 30 centimeters of snow fell on the island of Rügen, and the entire country was blanketed in snow. German officials also acknowledged a shortage of grit and feared that high winds and drifting snow would lead to road closures. In France, officials closed Autoroute 35 for trucks because of heavy snow, and over 400 truck drivers bound for Germany had to make an unscheduled overnight stop. In the early morning hours of the 9th of January, the autoroute was also closed to cars. The storm also grounded 160 flights at the Frankfurt am Main International Airport. Snow fell heavily in some parts of Spain. Prague sported a 120 centimeters snow cover after a 30-plus hour storm, which led to an 18-hour closure of the AP7 motorway at La Jonquera. Overnight temperatures of -22.3 degrees Celsius were recorded in Altnahara in the Scottish Highlands. Deal and Sandwich in Kent, England, were virtually cut off by snow drifts on the 9th of January. Snow showers persisted in the east of the UK. In the far southeast, snow showers merged into longer and more persistent areas of snow. A low temperature of -14.5 degrees Celsius was recorded at Tulloch Bridge. The football schedule was also heavily affected by the snowfall. All but 7 games were postponed in England, and all but 5 Scottish Cup games were played in Scotland. Several Guinness Premiership games and horse racing meets were cancelled as well. Dublin Airport was closed once again. Flights to Kraków in southern Poland were diverted to the airport in Katowice due to fog which prevented planes from landing. Meteorology issued a weather warning with up to 10 centimeters of snow forecast. Belgium was covered with another thick layer of snow in some central provinces as deep as 10 centimeters. Since the snow had been forecast for several days, this resulted in few people leaving their homes. Traffic accidents were minor and few. At Brussels Airport, slight delays were inevitable, but mostly the result of airports in neighboring countries coping with heavier snow. In Denmark, army personnel carriers were once again deployed in the southern part of the country to assist emergency services as drifting continued to cause traffic problems. 10 to 26 January, a large depression moved into the western approaches from the Atlantic on the 10th of January and began to infiltrate the coldest areas of Britain, bringing a thaw to southwest England. The weather in London cleared, allowing for transport access across all areas of north and central London. A heavy snowstorm, named Daisy, struck northern Germany on 9 and 10 January, especially along the coast and on the islands of Usedom, Rügen and Fehmarn. Snowdrifts made roads, parts of the coastal autobahn and rail tracks impassable. In northern Mecklenburg-Vorpommern and eastern Schleswig-Holstein, secondary roads were closed and trains cancelled, while snowplows and excavators struggled to keep the main routes free. Since the storms were accumulating increasingly large snow banks, hundreds of cars were stranded on Autobahn 20 near Jarmen during the night, and a train derailed after striking a snowbank near Milsau. In Denmark, drifting continued to disrupt traffic in the southern part of the country. Army personnel carriers were used to assist emergency services. In Spain, a snowstorm swept the country. Madrid had more than 10 hours of snow. Parts of southern Spain, such as Seville, saw the first snow since 1954. On the 11th of January, England and Wales continued to feel the effects of the depression in the western approaches. In the Republic of Ireland, the Department of Education ordered all schools to close for the day due to heavy snowfall. Due to a mix of bitter cold and the milder system trying to push in from the Atlantic, heavy snowfall in the United Kingdom resumed. There were fresh accumulations of up to 15 centimeters on the 12th of January in Wales and southwest England. Snow later fell in the Midlands and southeast England, in Holmfirth and Barnsley in North England. Freezing rain or sleet fell onto deep frozen roads. This created so much black ice that some people found that the only safe way to move about on roads was by crawling. Hospital accident and emergency units in the Sheffield, Rotherham and Barnsley areas of South Yorkshire reported being inundated by people with fractures and sprains after slipping on what one council official in Sheffield described as the worst black ice seen in the area in living memory. Many schools were again closed across England and Wales, and there were many road accidents and closures. The M25 motorway was down to one lane between Leatherhead and Reigate. Roads across southern Great Britain were untreated, wreaking havoc on commuters. Gatwick and Birmingham airports were closed, and many flights were delayed at Heathrow. During the 13th of January, the weather system continued north, affecting much of northern England before reaching Scotland. Parts of northern France were also affected by snowfall. At least 22 people died due to lower temperatures in Romania over a 5-day period. By the end of January in southern Sweden, temperatures had failed to get above 0 degrees Celsius a single time in the whole month in the major cities in the entire Mälar Valley, including capital Stockholm as well as major other cities such as Uppsala, Västerås and Örebro. Remarkably enough, that even spread further south to inland cities in the deep south such as Vaxholm and Ljungby. Although temperatures were lower than usual, no actual cold records were broken, but even temperatures in marine climate areas such as in Malmö plummeted below -15 degrees Celsius during the coldest nights. All of Sweden's official stations averaged below 0 degrees Celsius in terms of daily high, which is highly unusual. The cold in the large cities were relatively moderated, but Örebro somewhere inland had a -10 degrees Celsius mean, which is normal for areas much further north. February. The 12th of February, Arctic air entering the Mediterranean Sea brought snowfalls across Italian western coasts. Snow covered Rome with a couple of inches, with some flurries reaching Naples. An extremely rare snowfall occurred in Cagliari, Sardinia. The 20th of February, at least 43 people were killed after more than a month's worth of rain fell in southern Madeira in 5 hours during a strong Atlantic winter storm, producing severe flooding and mudslides. The unusual storm was fed by warmer than normal sea surface temperatures in the northeastern Atlantic related to El Niño, and a slowing of the North Atlantic gyre. 26 to 28 February, at least 62 people were killed and 12 were missing during a European windstorm in Western Europe, affecting mainly Spain, France, Germany and the Benelux region. Numerous levees were breached in western France. By the end of the month, the unusual cold had spread from primarily the south to the north of Sweden. Although winters of 1966 and 1985 were much colder, the average low of coastal Luleå still measured at -21.2 degrees Celsius, and inland more southern locality like Sill at -22.4 degrees Celsius. Further south, a night low of -29.7 degrees Celsius was measured in Gävle, not far north of capital Stockholm. In the south, temperatures occasionally went above freezing, but average highs were firmly below freezing, except in the deep south where it hovered around the freezing point. For the beginning of March, temperatures rose to somewhat normal levels throughout the country.